Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including four-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfalla.
And Ray Alfalla is a four-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
Three-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a three-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there you can analyze and compare two laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Hello and welcome to the Norwegian Sector League Championship and round 2 of the Blue Sector Series live on Apex Racing TV. We've got two races in for you tonight. We've got a 15-minute race 1 followed by a 30-minute race 2 with a reverse grid, and our host for this second round of the championship is Suzuka. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick and alongside me is Johan Karanis. Marco Barbinet is operating the production side of things tonight, and Johan, this should be a lot of fun. F3 cars around this circuit, they can really show off their fantastic handling abilities, but then also those long straights towards the end of the lap and then also the pit straight should offer plenty of overtaking opportunities as well.
Yeah, and this track car combination is just brilliant in my opinion. First sector of the track is going to be a really interesting one. You've got that multi-apex first corner at the end of the pit straight, and I mean, getting a move done at the end of there, if you can pressure opponents out towards the outside, it's going to be really crucial and kind of getting a move done there. And then you've got the S's following after that. That's going to make for some interesting driving. It might filter out some of the drivers that are still trying to sort out their car control. And then, as you said, the rest of the track, pretty iconic, very fast corners. You've got that near the end, the very iconic 130R. It's full beans for these cars, full throttle. It's going to be really interesting, and you need to be very brave on this track to really be dominant.
For sure, and I think there's no better exhibition of that than qualifying, which the drivers are currently in. All the drivers by themselves out there on circuit. I believe they got 4 laps, but around such a long track like this, you're probably not even going to have time to set all 4 of those laps, so you've got to get out of the pits nice and quick, probably fuel it up to do all those laps in one stint, so that you're not wasting any times, and expecting those laps to get quicker and quicker as the session goes on, because these guys need a couple of laps to really get those tyres into the perfect window. Going into this second round of the championship, the first round was nearly 2 months ago, but this second round, it's Nikolai Haheim currently at the top of the standings, after winning both of the races at Brands Hatch. Hakon Grebstad in second place, then it's Kittel Larsen, Hans Morgan Nielsen and Henrik Andreasen rounding out the top 5. But yeah, like I said, only the first couple of races done. We've got plenty more races. This is a 5-meeting championship, so plenty of opportunities for the drivers to come back. So they're just coming to the end of the lap, and well, for the last 40 seconds of this lap, Johan, you're pretty much flat out, because that 130 car is so easy flat. Expect to see side by side through there, and then you just got to make sure you get it all stopped and neat and tidy through the final chicane.
Yeah, so the 130R is one of those corners where I've been told by people how to drive it, just because I used to go through the brake to kind of get the nose turned in. And the moment you do that, you just get opponents running into you from behind. It's the only way to take that is flat out, and flat out is extremely scary around there. If you just put one wheel too far to the outside, if your turn-in is wrong, that's either going to be a costly mistake running very wide, or even possibly running into the barrier. So it's very fun to watch it, and I can imagine if you can get the everything hooked up, it's going to be really fun to drive. But if you're not that confident on the circuit, it's going to be very difficult, and it's going to hurt.
Yeah, that's a huge high-risk corner, and as you say, if you just go a tiny bit wide, then the car will just snap, and you could be off into the wall, so gotta be careful. First lap time's done, and it's currently Torp at the top of the standings by 0.4 of a second, but expect those times to get quicker. I would be very surprised if they didn't get into the 52s by the end of this session. So whilst Torp is at the front at the moment, he's got to improve to really be anywhere near up the front of the grid. So the drivers, of course, are not all out visually, but you'll see the timing board light up in a few moments' time as all these second laps come in. I believe the fastest in practice, by the way, was Hoheim, who of course won both races at Brands Hatch last time out, so him down in 5th place. A little bit odd at the moment, but yeah, expect this all to change in an instant.
It's going to be really interesting to see where Thomas Torp is going to end up. He's gone purple for 2 sectors. I know in practice the times have gone in around the 152s, so, and there we go, we've actually got them. So a 152.782 for Torp, and we've actually got her. I'm back on top of the board. So lots of times coming in. It's probably going to be one more if they field for it. Otherwise, I can imagine now is going to be the time to head back to the pits and get that fuel in to just really race for that last solid lap.
Incredible, the improvements on that second lap. I think Hoheim managed to go about 2 seconds faster on that second lap. It seems like most drivers are going to stay out then and just continue for this for the 3rd and 4th laps. Seemingly just the tyres not wearing down. Do you have any experience in these cars you have? Because I have not driven them for a long time. But I mean, from the Apex Racing Academy Formula 3 Championship that we've broadcast in the past, the cars just get quicker and quicker almost as the race goes on. There's almost feeling like there's no tyre wear for the first few laps. It's yeah, quite unusual on this tyre model.
Yeah, it's a very fun car to drive. The rear does step out a little bit if you're very heavy on the brake pedal. So I know with a G920 pedal set, it's very difficult to kind of find that fine line between how aggressively you want to brake. But other than that, it's a wonderful little car. I actually drove it for quite a bit after my Skip Barber days. But the problem is this car's biggest flaw is not the car itself, but the racers in the car. So they're slow enough that they can give some really close racing, which is, I mean, that's a very good thing. But the problem is, with that close racing and the speed that these cars can carry, you can get some monumental accidents. And if you get in those accidents, you lose some downforce, you lose a front wing. In my case, I once lost complete alignment of my suspension on lap 1. That's going to really upset the balance of the car, and you're going to be out of the race. So it comes down to really enjoying the car, but then also staying safe. These cars are very vulnerable in accidents, and with the level of these drivers, it shouldn't be a problem. But with Suzuka, especially the sector that we're looking at now, the S's, it's going to be a challenge to keep safe if someone ahead of you has an accident or has a bit of a big moment.
Yeah, for sure. Particularly on lap 1, if one person makes a mistake, which is so common because going side by side through the S's is bound to create an instant or two. Yeah, it might be tricky for the others to manage to get through. Hoheim improving once again. In fact, most drivers managed to improve. You can see he's half a second up, and any doubts about his pace after that first time. That's when Hoheim was half a second off Torp. He's since been able to easily reverse that, and yeah, they could even get into the 51s. Of course, a little bit more tricky to improve on your fourth lap compared to your third lap, but expect to see at least a few green times come up. Larson is about to approach the line. In fact, I think he's just about to complete his third lap, so he's got one more lap to go. I think he's going to run out of time. Torp just coming into the final chicane at the moment, trying to improve as much as possible. He's sliding about maybe a little bit wide through the second part of the Casio triangle, and in fact he opts out and decides to practice his pit entry instead. Isaacson looking to improve, currently 1 second off pole position, and he goes up to second place. So excellent up there for the 99. Steinbratsen manages to move up into second place. That's a really good time for the number 12 car, who was much further down than that for the most of the session.
And we head into the 151s with Hoheim securing his, or trying to secure his pole position. We're not done yet, but that's a very good time, especially for the current conditions out on track.
Yeah, for sure. That is an exceptional time. And, well, could he do the double again? He managed at Brands Hatch, and that was a tricky to overtake circuit. I think certainly race 1, he is the massive favourite, is Hoheim. He's at the top of the standings, ahead of Steinbratsen, Isaacson, Torp, Gullikson, and Brunstad in 6th place. Then it's Gestrian, Bakken and Larson. If Larson could keep that position to the end, that would be a reversed good pole for race 2, so do keep an eye out on that 8th place. That is how many cars will be reversed for race 2. Then it's Hans Nielsen, Louis Araya, Christian Hendon, Ragnar Wisloff in 12th position. Then it's Alexander Skaret, Max Berven, and Ernst Olav Pettersson. Then it's Erinsson, Horglen, Andreasen, Breivik, Opdal, Ball, Slastad, Helgerud, Knudsen, Larsen, Carmen in 26th. Then it's Grimstad, Bratsen, Anderson, Vik and Terum. Not sure if Vik and Terum are going to be able to take the grid, actually, because they are not currently on the grid. I don't think they set qualifying times either, so fingers crossed that we at least get to see them. But Hoheim on pole position here, but it's a long run down into turn 1. From second position, this is a good track to fancy your chances of getting into the lead at turn 1, I guess, Johan.
Yeah, if Steinbratsen is able to actually get a good start, he might be able to take the inside for the first corner. But it's all going to depend on that getaway. It's very easy to slip the clutch if you're not careful. So it's all going to depend on how panicked the start is and how confident you are with your car. But
exactly,
it's looking very interesting. I'm actually looking forward to not the first corner, but actually the Snake S's after that. It's going to be really fun seeing all of these cars go that close together at the start.
So 15 minutes of racing then about to start. Hoheim, the championship leader, from pole position, and we are away racing at Suzuka, and Hoheim gets an awful start. He got way too much wheel spin trying to cover off the inside line. He might keep second place, but it's Steinbratsen who leads heading into turn 1. Torp trying to get past Hoheim as well. He really sees this as his opportunity to challenge the 2-time race winner back at Brands Hatch. They are still alongside heading into the S's, and I think it's going to be Torp who's just able to get ahead, leaving room for his opponent, and it's a dreadful start for the 54, but it could have been a whole lot worse after that absolutely miserable launch from the line. Isaacson dropping back a place, Brunstad up one, also Scarrett with a strong start to move up into the top 11 so far, as the top two start to kind of scamper away. Steinbratsen trying to make a break for it whilst the others are fighting, and that's a poor start for the pole sitter.
Yeah, and that's I'm just really glad no one had an accident there. It's so easy to collect someone. Unfortunately, we've got Andreasen off in the kitty litter and Wilsoff as well. So the track collecting some victims here through Dunlop Curve now, and lots of things happening as people try and rejoin the track. Right in the middle, that driver did well to quickly reset to pits. So no one too badly affected, no one collected. As we go along the track. So Torp now is second behind our pole sitter Steinbratsen, and then the closest there to challenge him going to be Hoheim, and I can imagine Hoheim being really kind of disorganized after the start, kind of being in his own head, so he needs to reset now, he needs to forget about what happened and focus on the race that's ahead. 130R, this is a very iconic, that's the fast corner I spoke about, especially following this closely. It's extremely tricky. You do not want to end up in someone's rear if you get too much of a draft going. Now down the main straight, Torp and Hoheim battling it out here in front of Isaacson, and looking really good. So some aggressive defending there. Wow. Surprised how those drivers didn't get together, but then up on the inside, Isaacson looking for opportunity on Torp, not really finding it, deciding the SS is not the place for it, and decides to fall back in. A little bit of a moment there for Ellenson. Very nice car control, recovering back onto the track. No one affected by that, so some good in the moment driving there, and things settling down very nicely.
Yeah, Steinbratsen managing to open up 1.2 seconds then, whilst Hoheim was trying to make his way back through into second place, but he'll be a bit annoyed that Torp wasn't able to hold him up a bit longer, but there's just no resisting Hoheim there, and you can see the timing tower, that gap calming down now just below 1.2 seconds, and Hoheim will soon get the draft, which will help him along certainly around the second half of the lap. Wislov and Helgerud just having a bit of a collision further down the order. We also had issues for Ryan, Knudsen, Anderson, of course Helgerud right there, Haugland and Jerson, we saw that issue at Degner. I think here was Wislov smashing into the wall, so it was actually separate incidents there with involving the two cars, and wow, that's quite an impact there for Wislov, as it seems like Isaacson and Torp are battling. Now these two are teammates. Isaacson was ahead of Torp, but I think just making a mistake there did Niels Erik, and well, he's quite a long way now behind Hoheim, so the two teammates now battling with one another, and then they've got the Hadeland sim racing car of Brunstad behind, and then Larsen is another IGR Coatings car, and he's running in 6th position.
Lots of green on the main straight at the moment. It's very difficult racing that closely with a teammate, because you need to consider how you want to affect their race. Do you want to do the best that you can, or do you want to give them a good opportunity for their race? And it's very difficult as a racing driver making that decision, and especially making that decision on the fly. So I'm now under a second out there in front. I'm just keeping an eye on it as we're sitting on board with Torp, and that gap's really come down aggressively. So Haim is on a charge, but it's going to be another story when he catches up with Steinbratsen in the lead. Whilst the sector is also coming in, so Steinbratsen knows that he is under pressure here, and I'm looking at the lap times for the previous lap. Oh, I'm doing 2/10 faster than Steinbratsen, so he is edging down the gap. You can see that first lap just destroyed any advantage he had off the start. So he is trying to recover from that. And 5 minutes gone, that's a third of the race. So he still has a lot of work to do, but he's trying to get done as quickly as possible.
Yeah, he certainly is on course to catching up Hoheim. He'll be feeling a bit more confident. Now to an odd start for him because it seemed like the actual launch was alright, and then he seemed to yank the steering to the right, and it really unsettled the car and really slowed down after that. He was very fortunate not to drop further than third place and avoid any misdemeanors as well with contact and such. Max Bourbon up there in 11th position, driving for Team Vikings. Very established team is Team Vikings, at least in my experience, a good team. Lots of top positions in various teams and solo championships that they got under their belts. Yeah, currently not going too bad there with Bourbon up there in 11th position. Isaacson just coming across a back marker right there. I think that was Ragnar Wislov, who's already had a fair amount of problems. I think had to take a fast repair a few moments ago, so that's why he's so far back. So we're right on board with the race leader gap down to 0.6 of a second, and they've got more drivers to deal with, more back markers. That's Veek, and it has put off Steinbratz, who's missed the apex there, and this could be the first opportunity for Hoheim heading into the hairpin. This would be a gutsy move to go for it around this part of the circuit, but he is going to go for it, and he's putting his car up the inside, nearly contact between the two of them. Hoheim seems to have the best exit there within millimeters of one another on the corner exit, and again almost touching wheel to wheel, but Steinbratz is doing everything to stay ahead, and he just pulls ahead heading into Spoon.
So much respect between these drivers. It's insane watching them race that closely without even touching a bit. We are busy with the series that's the warm-up for the Norwegian National F3 series that's going to be later in this year, October if I'm not mistaken. So definitely these are the best of the best when it comes to Norway, and they're definitely showing it. So now through, going towards the last corner, and it's all going to be about this exit for Hoheim. He's got a possible opportunity here. He's within the 0.5 seconds for some effect from the draft. You can see the time starting to drop, but it's not going to be enough. It's too far away to make any kind of lunge on the brakes, and he's going to start following through the S's. This is kind of the difficult thing with these cars as well. You want to have clean air, but you need to be close enough to actually make that move on your opponent.
Yeah, and as Torp, oh no, now is that damage for Torp, who was running so well, qualified up in third position, I think, did Torp. Let's see what happened with this one. So he'd already dropped back from his teammates a bit, running in fourth position, and then, well, very Tom McMahon style, actually. I think that's exactly where Tom McMahon went off a few seasons back in the Apex Racing League GT Championship from the lead in very similar circumstances. A hardware failure on that occasion. Tom's headsets, I think, failed, but not quite sure what happened there. But yeah, clearly something going on in the real world there for Torp.
It's very disorientating when that happens in VR. You're kind of racing, and then the next moment you're just sat there in complete darkness. It's very sad to see that. He's done it really well in the start of the race, so I would have liked to see a bit more of him, but hopefully he's got the issue sorted when we get to our feature race, the second race, and then he's going to have another opportunity to fight there. On board with Kjetil Larsen, looking all over the back side of Brunstad, looking for that opportunity, trying to pull alongside, but it's not, the chicane is not going to be the situation for it, but he can get close enough on the main straight. It's all going to depend on how close he can get in that draft, how good his exit is. But it does seem like he's going to have to fight for another day. Just showing the nose a bit, just trying to get into the mind of his opponent. And it's difficult with a short race like this because you don't have the time to assess where your opponent is slow or faster, and you can't put that much pressure on them. But that will be for the next race.
Yeah, and at the moment, pole position for the next race would be Alexander Skoret. He's up 5 places up into 8th position. So that would be good news for Scratch. So many of these drivers up, I've got to know. Oh, as that's wide for the race leader, Steinbratz, and he's going to be under pressure into this corner again. This is where Hayheim nearly got past a few laps ago this time. Steinbratz does cover off the inside line, but was that necessarily the best thing to do, where he's taken such a shorter route through the hairpin that actually has been able to cover off, but now Hayheim can start to generate some momentum. Isaacson right on the tail of these guys, just set the fastest clean lap of the race, did Isaacson, as Hoheim tries to go around the outside. That's super risky at Spoon. Very tricky to do. Fortunately for him, Steinbratz was leaving him some space, and here comes Isaacson onto the back of these guys. Now remember, this is a fixed setup series. They've all got the exact same amount of drag. They haven't got any contact so far, and so it is all even cards, as here comes Hoheim with a tremendous amount of overspeed. But we're going to see side by side through 130 for the first time today. Steinbratz trying to come back, heading into the Casio triangle onto the brakes, and we'll try to get the cut back heading onto the pit straight as they enter the last couple of minutes. And there's a huge slide there for Steinbratz, just about keeps it in a straight line, but that is relief there for Hoheim, and Isaacson will try to take advantage, but huge shame for Steinbratz, who's barely made a mistake so far, but that mistake just cost him a chance to come back at the leader, and it's also cost him second position as well.
Yeah, that was very close to disaster right there, but Hoheim was being held up a bit by Isaacson previously, so I think he's going to be very happy to be away. On board with Gullikson, unfortunately losing the rear through Spoon, and that's so easy to get too eager on the throttle out of the exit of Spoon, and now it's also difficult because you don't want to hit someone when coming back onto track. Very difficult when you're perpendicular to the circuit like that. Oh, I'm desperately trying to open that gap. I think he's going to hope that battle between Isaacson and Steinbratz is going to hold them up a little bit so that he can drive off into the sunset. But it hasn't been the case for him yet.
Well, with the timing tie, it seems as though he's not quite within kind of that draft range, but it's just maintaining, like maybe changing by thousandths of a second. But I think in these cars you need to be within about 6/10 in order to get the draft, so good work there from Hoheim to just part that gap, and now it's up to 8/10, so it seems to have done enough. And well, a much more of a tricky race one than at least I thought it would be. I think the main battles now going to be between second and third, Isaacson versus Steinbratz. Steinbratz after leading for pretty much the entirety of this race, decides just to stay behind his rival, heading into the Casio triangle, maybe waiting his time. And also, Larsen finally passed Brunstad. Excellent move there from Larsen around the outside of the Casio triangle. But here comes Brunstad, going to try to retaliate onto the pit strip. We've got 2 more laps to go in this race. No, it's the white flag, apologies, but we're just going to miss out on an extra lap. So this is the final lap of the race, as Larsen trying to fend off this position, and he does so successfully. So good work there from the IGL Coatings e-racing driver.
I think Brunstad might have shown his hand a little bit early there. You want to try and keep that information, that knowledge that you have of your advantage to yourself for as long as possible, and he kind of telegraphed his move right from the start instead of still just hiding behind the car of Larsen that little bit longer, just waiting for the correct time to pounce. But he's still going to have a lot of opportunity through this lap to get something done. Out in front, Hoheim is now opening up the gap. He's gotten into the area where he can now at least have a bit of a leeway in regards to making a potential mistake, and that's not going to cost him a move with someone attacking him from behind. Also seems like Isaacson and Steinbratz have cooled down the race between them a bit. I think everyone is just going to try and settle for position here at the moment. I'm trying to see if there's any other big battles at the moment, but none at the moment. On board with, and of course it's going to be the man with one of the most challenging names ever, so I'm going to do my best, Matt Gestrumbakken. Having a nice little race here in 8th, a bit on his own, but still going forward. Hearing the end now. Yeah, that's the checkered.
Yeah, here comes the checkered flag then for Nikolai Hoheim, who makes it 3 race wins out of 3 then. race 1 here at Suzuka goes his way. Isaacson finishes in second place. Great effort from Steinbratsen to lead for so long. Bourbon is trying to hold on against Breivik and Bull. Now these guys just going to miss out on the reverse grid because that man, Gestenbacken, gets reverse grid pole. Behind him though, Bourbon was able to hold off, and whilst he'll be a little bit annoyed that he wasn't one place further up, I think he'll be quite satisfied with that because one more lap and he may have fallen out of the top 10. The line comes out fairly quick, and that'll be bad news there for Larson, trying to get past Carmen right there, but has to remain in 15th place. And the final few drivers just crossing the line. Like I said earlier on in the race, Johan, Hoheim there, I thought he was going to win very comfortably that race. He was so dominant in qualifying, but there was a proper challenge there, and he really ran that one up to time because it was only with about 2 laps to go that he made that move, but in the end he managed to make it stick.
It's a bit different from what we've seen previously, because last time he led the entirety of race 1 and then 12 of the laps of race 2. So that on Brands Hatch, those laps are 1 minute 30s, so it's a lot quicker than what we currently have here. It is interesting seeing him get shaken a bit like this, and just also shows that you need to be really on your toes, because there's always going to be someone that's going to snatch up that position if you give them the opportunity.
Yeah, and they really did give him a good challenge. Isaacson and Steinbratsen really pushed him all the way, but just fell a little bit short in the end, as we have this 5-minute break between races, but we'll take you through the results, I think, and see where everyone ended up. Hoheim there at the top, 1.4 seconds clear of Isaacson. Steinbratsen right on the tail as well, and he of course led for pretty much 3/4 of the race there, but just fell short there, did Ole. Larson was in 4th place, beating Brunstad. Hendon was in 6th, Scarrett and Gestenbacken at the top 8. That means that Gestenbacken and Scarrett will be on the front row of the grid, so great work there from IGL Coatings. I got a 1-2-3, I wonder if they could lock out the circuit or something, and not allow anyone else to overtake. Bourbon was in a very close 9th with Breivik and Bull. Then it was Erlandsen, Slarston, Carmen, Larson, Opdal, Pettersson. Andreasen was in 18th place, despite a spin earlier on actually for Andreasen, so good job there to recover, only 37 seconds off the lead. Then also Haaland, Grimseth, Helgerud, who had problems, Araya had problems, as did many of these drivers, Gulliksen, Knudsen, Bratsen, Nielsen, Wislov and Anderson were the final drivers. 28 guys in the last couple there, 1 lap down, but I believe they'll still score points, which is all good news. We're going to show you a quick trailer for one of the sponsors for us on Apex Racing TV, but we'll be back with you in just a moment here in the Norwegian Sector League Blue Sector Round 2 from Suzuka. Welcome back to the Norwegian Sector League and the Blue Sector Championship Round 2 from Suzuka. Once again, I'm Sam Fitzpatrick. Once again, alongside me is Johan Kernes, Marco Barbanet operating the production side of things. Just saw a trailer for SDK Gaming, the overlay that we use for all of our broadcasts on Apex Racing TV, and I at least cannot imagine using any other software. See, SDK Gaming provides so much information. It's so customizable as well to make it look however you want, not just with different colors but completely different layouts. So if you choose, there's also a NASCAR template. There's a classic 3.5 series template from the old Renault 3.5 championship in real life. There's lots of stuff like that available on SDK Gaming. We also use it for live timing. You can also use it for streaming, and also has a heads-up display as well. So do check out sdk-gaming.co.uk for more details on that and a 14-day free trial. Race 2 just about to start now, Johan, and well, like I was saying before, it's actually going to be a 1-2-3 for IGL coatings. Do you think that could be an advantage, having those top 3 positions locked out as teammates?
Definitely. You can either shuffle the drivers to have the guys in the order that you want. So slower driver at the back, maybe more defensive driver at the back, to just close off and prioritize one or two of your drivers. I see we're finishing up with warm-up. So yeah, the advantage is going to be very strong heading into the race.
Yeah, should be some kind of tactical advantage for them, as long as they can work together, as long as they all get off the line nice and clean. There you can see the grid, so it's the top 8 from it's the race 1 results, but the top 8 have been inverted. So Hoheim there, who was in first position at the end of race 1, he gets demoted down to 8th, and then all the others reverse. Gestrin Bakken was in 8th position before he moves up to first position. Now, last time we had this race, Hoheim managed to take the lead within about 10 minutes, and this is an extended race to 30 minutes in length, so plenty of time for him to make his way up through the order around this circuit, which should be fairly easy to overtake. So I think certainly Hoheim comes in as the favourite, but well, maybe we'll have a different winner for the first time this season. So Gestrin back in there from the pole position, the 5 lights are out and away we launch. It's a decent start for all the IGL coatings cars. Brunstad trying to make an impression just behind, but very good starts from everyone at the front. It was a bit more chaotic in the midfield as Brunstad tries to move up into 3rd position, and I think he's going to be able to do that, and even challenging as well for 2nd position going through first curve. Heading into the S's now, the top 4, top 5 in single order. Larsen and Hoheim battling hard, and it's Larsen who manages to keep that position as Isaacson nearly makes contact just behind. A couple of drivers having problems, Varman having a problem, also Helgerud as well, but all the front runners clean through, and it's still an IGL coatings 1-2 at least.
We've got one slow driver on track, one off. So I think there might have been something happening there, but most of them off to a really good start. We can see Berberend getting back onto the track and just going with his race again. And one massive dive from Hoheim, moving up into 6th position. That was opportunistic, I think, but very brave. So he's going to move forward, and as aggressive as you predicted, Sam. It's really exciting to see that kind of racing. Into Spoon Curve they go, and this double apex corner is really difficult. This exit, crucial for your speed heading into this little mini straight before 130R, but you still need to stay on track to actually be able to do that. And on the charge is going to be Hoheim. Swap there between Brunstad and Scarrett is as Scarrett moves, or Brunstad, sorry, moves ahead.
Yeah, good work there from Brunstad, from 4th on the grid. He's got past 2 of those IGR coatings cars, and also Steinbratz, I think, just going past Hendon as well. So as Hoheim has come to the pits, did he jump the starts? And well, this is the 100% record gone, I believe, as we would try to get a replay of it. Has he just made a mistake here? If he moves forwards at all, really, that's usually a penalty. Looked alright from there, so maybe it was something else.
I'm not exactly sure. what would have caused it. Unless he also has a bit of equipment trouble, but that does look like a penalty. Brunstad now getting awfully close to Jestrumbakken, and this is going to be the, unfortunately, a few drivers off track here. I think that's Dunlop corner.
Oh, another one.
Almost feels like there's oil on the track. Not a possibility in the simulator, but a lot of people are having a few sympathy spins. It's difficult approaching an accident like that and then not paying attention to it and accidentally missing your braking marker. But it's going to be interesting now to see how long can Jestrumbakken at the start hold on to his lead. He is proving that he's got a bunch of pace in hand, so we'll see. Then we're on board with Scarrett, currently under pressure from Steinbroten, and running defensively on the inside. This is going to be interesting heading into 130R. It's so difficult running on the inside for this corner, and he's going to fall in behind, deciding to rather not fight for the position, but to live to fight another day. Nice little pack of 4 cars here. Right to the front of it, we've got Obdal, then on board now with Arya, looking on the inside for the chicane. That is brave to say the least. Some good driving though, very nicely driven through there, making sure that he's made no contact. Unfortunately, Christian Newton just running out of grip for that last corner. The track is extremely hot at the moment, so the tyres do tend to slip a little bit.
Yeah, and yeah, that was a shame for him, but manages to avoid the barrier as Brunstad is on an absolute charge at the moment. He's right onto the back of Jestrumbakken. This is the battle for the lead. By the way, drivers have to make a pit stop in this race, so the pit stop for Hoheim almost certainly going to get him to the end of the race. So all these guys still got a pit stop to make. Meanwhile, Hoheim's decided to try to just undercut them all. Feels like even with the extra fuel, he can undercut them all. So we'll see if that works. And if they keep on fighting like that, maybe this is what Hoheim was expecting. And Jestrumbakken, without the aid of his teammates at the moment, Steinbroten in fact is up to 3rd position as well. So the next of his teammates is down in 4th place. So quite a far cry from their 1, 2, 3, which they had on the grid. He's having to defend into Spoon, and it's going to cost them a lot more time. Steinbroten making up car lengths in each of these corners now as they head side by side, neither getting the toe from one another. Maybe a little bit of side draft perhaps for the car, slightly trailing, but it looks like Brunstad's going to get this one done, similar to what he did to a couple of other cars earlier on around the outside at 130. And here comes Steinbroten as well. He's going to try to take advantage of this one. Brunstad, Jestrumbakken doing enough though to hold on to it. Brunstad runs a little bit deep, that might leave him vulnerable, but gets on the power nice and early coming out of Castillo Triangle. And Steinbroten feels, I'm not having any parts of this battle, I'm going to get my pit stop done now as well.
It's a bit earlier than I would expect the undercuts to be, but if you can make it until the end like that, it's maybe not a bad thing. You just need to be careful that you don't end up coming out in the middle of traffic. That can hurt your race, but because you want to get those faster laps right after your you want to get those faster laps. Normally it's when you've got fresh tires, but I can't imagine these guys fitting tires with these pit stops. It's not long enough to really run out of grip on the tires yet. So
Yeah, the drivers will take tyres as well, so I would have thought taking a pit stop now means that you're going to have older tyres at the end of the race. Now, like I was saying earlier on, I mean, the tyres don't degrade that much, but yeah, it's an interesting tactic, but yeah, it seems as though the top drivers from race 1 feel like it's the one to go for.
normally with when you get fuel involved, overcutting becomes an option as well. I remember actually trying an overcut here at Suzuka before I really understood tyre strategy that good. Isaacson moving up on the inside of Scarrett there, just in time for the Spoon complex. I think he's a bit thankful for that he didn't have to fight for that position all the way through Spoon.
Yeah. I'm just saying on the timing time now, you've got IGL coatings 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, all in a nice row. sure they'd give up a few of those places just to have the top spot, but it's not bad. There you can see IGL Racing's in a bunch of, well, they're basically just all in the Apex Racing Academy Formula 3 VRS Super Series as well. So great to see those guys out, really talented drivers, and yeah, in those leagues certainly doing Norway proud. Well, because there were Norwegians in this series, but everyone's driving very high level, just showing what a quality nation it is when it comes to motorsport. Of course, no Norwegian Formula 1 drivers. And I realise Formula 1 is not the only motorsport. I'm sure there's many other successful Norwegian motor drivers, but yeah, no Norwegian drivers, but certainly probably only a matter of time. So these top 3 super close to one. Now the last one on that last lap was faster than the top 2 by 0.3 of a second, and of course he is teammates with Gestrapacken, so you'd think that these guys will swap round and let Larsen have a chase at Brunstad, or maybe they will just fight it out. Helgood's just had a problem, by the way. Helgood was doing quite well after a problem in race 1, but you can just see him highlight red on the time attack. He's down to 25th. We might just get a replay of how this one happened. So this was a contact with the car number 12. Sorry, no, that was the pass going on behind. So Helgood, it looks like, has lost this one all by himself, dipping a wheel onto the grass and yeah, going up into Narnia.
Yeah, no, it's when you spoke about the racing drivers earlier, I wanted to make the comments of I would suspect that a lot of Norwegian drivers may be going into something like rally. Call that a bit of an ignorant view, because in my part of the world that's kind of stereotypically what you would expect. Unfortunately, that happened right before we saw one of the cars going on into the grass. So, and as we say that, Larsen has now swapped with Gestrapacken, so it's going to be interesting to see how that battle starts playing out. We've got Hogland on screen now, and we're trying to see what happened with him. And again, Spoon claims another victim. It's really difficult there on the exit of the corner. You need to be so patient on the throttle, and it's difficult when you're trying to make up time.
So Isaacson, yeah, into the pits, and by the way, it's nose to tail at the moment between Steinbratsen and Hoheim. In fact, Hoheim's just got past Steinbratsen there. So that is for the effective race lead. So Hoheim and Steinbratsen, who pitted earlier on, they are the top 2. You can see them down in 20th and 22nd places at the moment, but only 30 seconds off the lead. Expect those guys to move through, and Steinbratsen's really getting held up at the moment, and he's letting Hoheim get away because he's got Varman between him and his main rival. So shame for the 12. He was ahead on the last lap, but yeah, lost it, and yeah, Hoheim now into the effective lead, but yeah, bits of kind driving there from Varman as Opdal is off the track, and you can see the lines that he's left on the grass, indicating how he spun off the track. And now we've got Helgood off the circuit again. He's having an absolute miserable time up there as Andreas.
It's difficult once your car gets damaged like that, because even if you go in for repairs, some of the things don't get fixed. So, a nice little setup here from Peterson into Spoon is going to send it up the inside, and it might be a bit too far back. So, yeah, it's difficult with these cars when you get damaged, because if something gets pushed out of alignment, you're going to have a miserable race. Now, Andreas and Torp, oh, and that's close. That is why I get nervous every single time someone attacks here on the inside on 130R. But the driver's doing so well not to come together. That could have ended very badly for Torp and Andreasen. But Torp actually doing a nice little fight in his current race. I'm actually very happy for him. So side by side into the first corner, and Torp is going to take that position, and then he's been fighting for. He's going to have to do a bit of work to secure, because Andreasen is going to try and come back at him, and he's going to have to shut that door and try and fight onwards. Now Peterson making the overtake here on Nils. Nelson making the overtake on Peterson, getting the cars mixed up.
Oh, and off is Araya. That is a shame for Luis for Heidland Sim Racing. His teammate Brunstad leading the way, but Araya, another driver, he's had a spin. We've seen plenty of kind of self-spins so far Fortunately, not too much contact, albeit, I mean, you were saying it before, just how close we had Torp and Chess to be mega racing, and did not leave each other too much room heading into 130R, but was all good in the end. So you can see there, good work there from Marco Balbinelli, who's doing an awesome job in the broadcast booth, as Hoheim has crashed, and that is it. He is not going to win his 4th race of the season, and if he does not finish the race, if he doesn't score points, so he might even lose the championship lead. Everything was going right for him. He was going faster than the race leaders, and he just gets hooked onto that curb and could not steer the car around, tries to get back going, but realizes that the steering is really broken, and yeah, he just bottoms out there. He's I mean, we saw skateboarding at the Olympics for the first time a couple of weeks back, Johan, and that was like going on the pipe there because the tyres just weren't in contact with the track.
It's such a frustrating area to make because you can't see it coming, and then you get that bump. So Isaacson also.
Oh, well, this was very 4th position, I think.
Yeah, he was doing so well. So just seeing what happened here.
He had come into the pit zone, so this is with Araya.
That's a bit of an airplane crash. It's just getting that wheel hooked into the other wheel, and that's a very almost typical open wheeler crash. You wouldn't get that in turn tops. With the wheels and suspension kind of tangling like it did.
Well, that's a couple of heavy hitters out of the round. I don't think Isaacson was going to fight for the win, but would have had a chance at a podium. He went for the early stop. I'm not sure how successful that was going to be, seeing that these top guys aren't really fighting with one another anymore. They're kind of just running in formation. But wow, and yeah, of course we are going to have a first-time winner this season. But who's it going to be? Because at the moment, I wonder if Marco could do that great work again with the lap comparisons, but with Brunstad and Steinbratsen, because Steinbratsen, first of the drivers who have already taken their pit stop, drivers don't have enough fuel to get to the finish. They've got this is a fixed setup series, so the setup doesn't have enough fuel to get them to the end of the race, and so they do need to have that little top up. And you can see Steinbratsen's actually been considerably slower the past few laps. So actually, this is looking very good for Brunstad, trying to break the draft, I think, here to Larson, and personal best for all of them. So that they're really keeping a very good pace right now.
They're running in the mid 152s, so it's some decent times all around. I saw also someone that we just need to keep a bit of an eye on is Thomas Torp. He's also lapping in the 152s, not as fast, but he's already gained massive amounts of positions. So he might also come into the mix a bit later on. It all depends on how the pit stops are going to go. And we see a whole bunch of drivers now jumping into the pits right at the halfway mark. So opting to kind of split it 50-50. It's going to be really interesting to see how that affects their dynamics for the race. But yeah, this is giving a second opportunity for Brunstad out in front. And I can imagine him being very excited. I know he was very anxious at the start of the race, and I think this is exactly the opportunity that he's been looking for. But he's going to have to fight for it. I see Larson is closing in with breakneck speed, about 4/10 between the two of them, and lapping very, very similar times.
Yeah, and yeah, he's a bit closer than he was on the last lap, and this could definitely be an opportunity for Larson to overtake. Here we go into 130R. They don't want to fight too much, otherwise they'll invite the others back in, but they really do need track position if they can get. Now, will either of these drivers come into the pits? We're not sure how much further the fuel can go. They might both come in, might neither, and neither of them do come in. So interesting that they're willing to have this fight. Really thought that Larson might just go for the undercut, get the fresh tyres on, and try to make that strategy work. But instead he's going to try to get it done on circuit, and he is getting his nose just marginally ahead, absolutely dead level, heading into the first corner there. But Brunstad is holding on out in the lead, and Larson has not yet found a way past. And you were talking about Torp before. Torp with a 52.08 there, catching up to these years by 1 second. He's not going to catch up by the end of the race by that pace, but fantastic Torp producing an awesome drive at the moment. And also just comparing the lap times with Steinbratsen, just at a 52.33, so that could be the change, because Steinbratsen was 8/10 faster than these drivers on that last lap. Steinbratsen with his pit stop done, these drivers haven't yet done their pit stop, so I'm kind of egging these guys on at the moment, Johan. I don't want them to fight, otherwise it's going to hand the victory to Steinbratsen. So yeah, hopefully they kind of do what they were doing before and just kind of call a truce and follow each other into the pits.
It's a difficult thing to do if you've got an opponent in front of you. I mean, as teammates, they're probably going to be coordinating between the position 2 and 3, but it's so difficult if you see that opportunity or those opportunities in front of you, especially if you do feel that you're faster. But as you said, the bigger picture is also an important thing, and they at some point they need to think about when are they going to pit, how are they going to optimize that, and you want to try and get those fastest lap done while your car is at its lightest. So that's why the earlier pit stops kind of confused me a little bit. You're setting your car up to be very heavy at the start, and then kind of maximizing that amount of time they're running with a very heavy car. Into the pits is Brunstad, so he's decided he's had enough of that. He's not going to battle for it, and he's going to get that pit out of the way. And this is kind of the period that I was expecting for a bit of an overcut. 2/3 of the way through, that kind of seems like a good mark. And you can see a few of the other drivers having exactly the same idea. Peterson going in, and oh, that's a bit of a mess up. As both drivers try and slow down for the pit lane speed limit. It looks like almost a bit of a collision.
As Brunstad coming out of the pits, has he been able to stay ahead of Steinbratsen? It's going to be close between the two of them. Here we go, Brunstad trying to get up to speed. Can he stay ahead? He just about can. He did dip a wheel onto the white line, but I think he should be alright on that one. That was very marginal, and that lap where they lost the best part of a second fighting nearly cost Brunstad there, but he's just about got the lead and now got to defend against Steinbratsen, who has got warmed up tyres. And whilst you know, Brunstad will have fresher tyres to the end of the race, it usually takes a couple of laps for the tyres to get into their optimal zone, and Steinbratsen is really showing that at the moment. Degner is not usually a corner where he can overtake, and it's not going to be a corner he can overtake on this occasion either. And whilst Brunstad is trying to get up to speed, get back into the rhythm, get those tyres up to temperature, this is great news for Larson and Gestrin back and out in the lead, who are trying to extend that gap before they come in for their pit stops. Still, Brunstad is under huge amounts of pressure. We'll let you know, and you'll see on the timing tower if Larson and Gestrin back can come in on this lap. But Brunstad is having a real tough time of it at the moment, because here comes Steinbratsen once again up the inside into Spoon. He's going to try to make this overtake right away. Going to defend is the Hayden Sim Racing car, and he does so successfully.
This is a very stressful moment for Brunstad, and we're going to see what happens into 130. Oh, he's not really defending it that much, so that's going to give the inside to Steinbratsen, and he's going to try and make the pass, and not really going to get it done. We'll see what happens into the Casio triangle as they go alongside again, and it's to and fro between these two drivers.
And watch out for the others coming out of the pits. Could see 4 wide potentially if they come out at the right point. There they are. They're way up the road. They're way up the road. That's a big gap then. And so leading the way after the pit stops is Larson. Torp still yet to take his pit stop. And so this has been an amazing pit stop sequence for IGL Coatings eRacing. He managed to take well, they didn't have a shorter pit stop, but had a shorter transit time, I think, and yeah, been able to jump then. So it's Larson leading the way, Gestrin back in second, Brunstad and Steinbratsen, as Torp I think has just crashed from the lead. He was pushing it a bit further, and he has crashed from the lead, trying to build up a gap.
That is very sad to see. He's been driving so hard for it again.
Or he ran out of fuel. Wasn't spluttering yet. Oh no, did the engine turn off or something? I don't know.
it might be a pedal issue if it cuts off that suddenly. It doesn't sound like it was braking that hard to really get off the track or something, so it might be they still had visuals. But that is something technical going wrong there. Unfortunately, that is the end for his race right there. So, and another driver off track, that's a very heavy hit for Peterson. It looks like wheel too far on the grass, not yet. So all over on the behind and then contact from behind, that's very unfortunate.
That's the one who made contact there. Not that he could do a whole lot about it. Solstead would have had a fairly good view of all this, and there goes Erlandson, just didn't know which way to go, and now he's got steering damage. You can immediately see the steering getting waxed out, so he'll have a tough final 6 minutes as this is Steinbratsen versus Brunstad again, and it looks like Steinbratsen's got the inside line. So Brunstad wasn't able to cover it off, and Steinbratsen up to 3rd position, but he's 4 seconds off the lead. Just looking at the data that we get from SDK Gaming, and the actual pit stop times, the times that they were stationary, very similar. Larsen 4.1, Gestenbakken 5, Steinbratsen 4.2, and Brunstad 4.5. However, in the transit time, in the time that you get into the pits to the time that you get out of the pits, Brunstad lost 3 seconds to Larsen, and he lost even more to Steinbratsen. And so it seems as though it was kind of attacking that pit entry and maybe being a bit risky as well on the pit exit, which seemed to make the difference between those drivers. And there you can see the data up on the screen, just how slow Brunstad was in comparison to Larsen in particular, and even Gestenbakken as well was a little bit faster. So yeah, that's kind of where that gap has come from, because Brunstad was leading the way, and now he's down to 4.
Yeah, there was a bit of a fast braking sequence happening between some of the drivers when they were entering the pits there. So I thought that might have cost someone time, but I didn't really expect it to be that big of an effect. So Gestenbakken now trying to attack Steinbratsen here.
Yeah, Steinbratsen getting ahead. I think there he's very quickly caught up and up to 2nd place. 3 seconds to catch, 5 minutes to go.
That's going to be a good little challenge for him. He is lapping quicker. So, and then Anderson here. Oh, and unfortunately contact. That is not what he wanted to happen there, and definitely not what his opponent wanted. I can imagine Breivik being very, very cross with that one right there. Now the 2 teammates coming into the first corner here as they settle into position. Andreasen losing a lot of time. I don't know if he's got damage from that contact though.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it was certainly one of them got fairly airborne from it. Sometimes you can get away with it if you're absolutely kind of square on, if both drivers don't have too much steering on. But well, that was unfortunate, and yeah, you're going to be well, might just have to park it up, because that car is going to be very slow towards the end of this race. Larsen leading the way then, and you can see that at least on that last lap, Steinbratsen was much faster, but Larsen's still getting those tyres up to temperature, and he's got fresher tyres as well. Steinbratsen with very old tyres at this point, compared to the drivers around him. But of course, he's such a quick driver, Steinbratsen, he's able to kind of make up for it. But Larsen getting those tyres up to temperature, and that gap not coming down too much. So just keeping it on circuit at the moment would make him the 2nd race winner this season. And yeah, this lap really very similar times between the two, and Steinbratsen slightly faster, but not enough to make much of an impression. By the way, quick shout out to Virtual Racing School for sponsoring this series, and sponsoring a number of our series on Apex Racing TV. Virtual Racing School with over 50 data packs for road and oval racing, and those data packs are each for a different car, so that's over 50 cars covered, and those include setups, track guides, one-on-one coaching, and they also provide amazing data analysis software as well. So do check out Virtual Racing School for more details. As that was Breivik just getting back past Wisdorf. So Breivik lost that position then, I think, to Nielsen originally after the contact, but the 13 doing a good job at defending, and here comes the 47. Bourbon trying to come through, heading into turn 1, and Bourbon, I think, will be able to get that one stuck, it seems, heading into the S's, and Bourbon does move up to 8th position, which is, yeah, 1 place higher than where he started.
Wondering if he chose that race number on purpose, Mick Schumacher's number. Larson out in front, currently looking very comfortable. He started to lap similar times to Steinbroten, so the gap between them shouldn't be closing at that rapid of a rate. But out on his own there. Alright, battle for third. Brunstad looking here at Joostenbakken. Some aggressive defending, it would seem. But they're off through Spoon and heading up to 130R. Nice little draft. Joostenbakken running very defensively for 130R. He's going to leave the ball in Brunstad's court, and Brunstad getting very close to stepping that wheel out on the outside, but he's going to have the position in hand and he's going to charge onwards. Last in the head, still 2.4 seconds ahead of the pack, and we are seeing the white flag. So this is looking very good for him for the end of the race. He just needs to keep it consistent. Near all of the cars reaching the end of the rev limiter near the end of the straight. So this is going to be the battle to watch between Joostenbakken and Brunstad. They're still close enough to really do some damage. Well, I said damage, do some change up the position. So it's going to be interesting to see what they get doing. And Andreasen entering the pits, I'm not exactly sure what that is about, especially this close to the end of the race. I think his car might have some terminal damage from that contact from earlier.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. Not able to quite limp it across the line, unfortunately. As we see Larson, IGL Coatings, iRacing, just heading the way at the moment. 2.2 seconds, as you were saying before. You know, the gap coming down a little bit, but not too much. Just needs some consistency. Error free for Kittel Larson, and this would be a very satisfying race win for him, as battling behind still between Bourbon and Breivik, and these guys were very close to one another at the end of race 1, and that is Bourbon with an excellent overtake. It seems like he's got different tyres on that thing all of a sudden, because he carried an immense amount of speed around the outside at the hairpin. Great work, and Wisdorf might have a chance as well at passing right at the end. But there is no passing this man. Kittel Larson out in the lead, and after 3 consecutive wins for Nikolai Hoheim, he is going to take his first win of the season. Kittel Larson comes to the line at Suzuka, and he takes the race to victory. Steinbratsen was in 2nd place. Brunstad finishes in third, just ahead of Gestenbakken, who wasn't able to come back on that final lap. Breivik seemingly had an issue, and I think Breivik's going to be overtaken by Erlandson. In fact, has he run out of fuel as Breivik? And I think it's best just to cut straight across the chicane if he possibly can. He will have to serve the serum at the end. And no, you turn around the corner. Well, it's downhill at least, but he's trying to get any drops of that fuel to get into the line. Slastas going to overtake him. Can Araya catch up right at the end as well? Fortunately, the line comes up quick, but it's not quick enough, and Breivik drops to 12th position after being as high as 7th, heading on to that last lap. As we see the celebrations there for Kittel Larson, I think almost went slightly under the radar there. In that race there, Johan, because you know he wasn't one of my picks for at the start of race 2, but he quietly went about his business. He got up those places in the first few laps, and then that short pit lane transit time just gave him that gap out in the lead, and there was no stopping him.
And I think that's normally what you want to happen. If you can fly under the radar, it's a bit better the way. There's no incidents. It means you don't really have any big moments. Everything kind of goes to plan. So I think Kittel Larson really did a good job of that, and just making sure that all of the situations really play in his favor. I must also just say Steinbroughton and Brunstad doing very well for the positions that they gained as well. It was a massive challenge for Brunstad, and I think he did very well for all things considered.
Yeah, I'd certainly agree, and he was defending. His race car was exceptional, Brunstad, but yeah, what happened in that pit stops transit? I think you kind of spotted it where there was maybe a few drivers who were a little bit slower than others, but yeah, he kind of lost the lead right there, and unfortunately wasn't able to take it back. But there was Larsson, 2.1 seconds ahead in the end of Steinbroughton, who'll be a little bit disappointed in himself and maybe thinking that the early stop that he went for maybe wasn't the right way to go. I guess it works some days. It didn't quite work out tonight though. He finished in second place. Then it was Brunstad, Gestrin Bakken in fourth place, Hendon, Nielsen, Bourbon with a good drive to seventh place, Wisloff, Erlandson and Slarstad rounding out the top 10. Then it was Luis Araya after a disappointing race 1, came well in 11th place in race 2. Then it was Breivik who ran out of fuel right at the end. Niels Erik Isaacson, where would he have been? That is a big question. Had it not been for a contact with another driver, I think he would have been just short of the top 4 to be fair, but still would have been interesting to see him race against his teammates. Alexander Skoret started way up the order. He ended up in 14th though, and Andreas Larsson was in 15th. Then it was Christian Knudsen, Henrik Andreasen, Steinar Opdal, Simon Bull, Oyvand Haugland, Jim Robin Bratsen, Geir Varman, Andreas Helgerud, then it was Anderson, Pettersson, Torp, who had a couple of very disappointing races, was coming back strong as well, was Torp, probably could have got a top 5 in that race too. Vic and Hoheim top first 3 wins of the season, but a self-mistake honestly. I mean, it was a bit unpredictable. He was unlucky that he got airborne, kind of bottomed out on the exit of the Degners, but he took no further parts in the race, and it'll be very interesting to see if he has kept his championship lead after that DNF. You can also see the others there, Gullickson, Grimseth and Tarum, running out the good field of 31 drivers that we had tonight. Final shout out by the way to the Apex Racing Academy for also sponsoring this series. Apex Racing Academy with 29 data packs, setups, track guides, weekly group coaching sessions, and it's also integrated with virtual racing school. It's super easy to use. Is Apex Racing Academy. The setup sync technology that they use just takes so much time out and so much of the bother out of setups. Instead of having to go over to a website, downloading it, putting it in the right files, whenever you load up into iRacing, the files are downloaded automatically. It's such ease of use. You can jump into a session, not even think about it, and have a setup loaded up for you straight away. So huge thanks to Apex Racing Academy for sponsoring this series. So we will have a few interviews with various drivers. And I think first up we'll have a chat with our race 1 winner actually, Nico Hoheim, who had a terrific race 1 and a disappointing race 2. Thanks for having a chat with us, Nico. Let's go through the positives first. That race 1, talk us through the starts actually, because that was a bit of a negative from race 1. It seemed like you got a lot of wheel spin.
Yeah, I actually practiced like 1 hour before the race, like only on the starts, and everything was fine. I didn't even have one failure, let's say, but when the race came, different story. So that was on me. But yeah, the first race was so. I mean, it was a bit hard to follow actually, or at least follow enough and stay close enough to pass. So it became maybe a little bit close at one stage, but it was good in the end. And yeah, and the second race, decided to pit early because I was anyway like 5th or 6th, and I could see a lot of green cars ahead of Team IGL, so I thought why not just pit now, and also I wasn't sure if I had damage, so I thought I was gonna use my fast repair, and it didn't do that. But then yeah, just were too slow basically after that, and ended up way back, and then suddenly found myself ahead of Ola, which was positive because I knew he had the pace for the podium, so there was a possibility there. But then my brain farted for a moment, and I was on the curb and in the wall. So that was the end.
Yeah, it looked like a tricky one because your line wasn't necessarily bad. I mean, like you still had, you know, without the bottoming out, it would have been absolutely fine. Have you ever had that problem through that corner in this car before? I mean, how often does the car bottom out over that curb?
Well, you certainly know that if you come out there with this car, maybe it's setup related as well, but you know it's gonna bottom out. I didn't have it before in this car, but I had it many times in the Indy Pro 2000, so I know it's a part of the curb that's, yeah, you just basically should avoid it, so I didn't, and it cost me a lot.
Well, despite that, of course, retirement, you still got 3 wins out of 4 heading into the next meeting of the championship. You got the championship lead as well. So overall, from these 2 meetings, I guess you must be feeling quite positive about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a disaster, and yeah, the most positive thing is definitely that the pace is there. So yeah, looking forward to the next round and hopefully redeem myself a bit from this last race, and yeah, hopefully.
Well, we'll be rooting for you up here in the commentary box. Nico, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we say goodbye?
Yeah, my team, Team Heli Media, and also the guys at HSR, Hardline Sim Racing, as well, for practicing together with me, and yeah, just having a great time all along. So yep, thanks to you guys, and also to you as well for having a great broadcast. So
awesome, thank you very much for the kind words, Nico, and yeah, we'll see you next time.
Thank you, will do.
Nico Hoheim there, finishing in first place in race 1 and then not finishing in race 2, but yeah, despite that not finish, I imagine he will still be in the lead of the championship heading into the next round. Johan, who would you like to have a chat with?
So I think we can definitely pull in Kjetil Larsen. I think he's going to be an interesting man to get a hold of. Kjetil, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, I just want to ask, how was that last race to you? It looked quite stressful near the end, but things seem to have gone quite well and according to plan.
Oh yes, I had a good start. I had some good people to follow, so I could save a little bit fuel. And I picked a place or 2, and I stayed behind Simon. And deliberately I saved some fuel behind him. I had a little bit more better pace, I think, so I could save a little bit. And when he pitted, I went for another lap and set a good time. And I gambled a little bit in the pit stop and fueled a liter less than I planned. So I had to save a little bit on the 3-4 last laps.
Okay, but it honestly didn't look like you were saving. You were still doing an insanely good pace. Quick question as well. So with the pit stop, was it more based on what your opponents were doing, or were you actively planning for a slight bit of an overcut?
Yes, I was thinking about the overcut. So when I saw Simon went to the pit, and I had clear tracks in front of me, I pushed as hard as I could, and when I drove into the pit, yes, let's go for 8 liters instead of 9 as planned, so that was good enough. I had a little bit more than half a liter when I crossed the finish line, so it was perfect.
It definitely ended perfectly for you there. And then in terms of the teamwork, I saw you around your team for quite a bit. Do you think it was a big contributing factor, or were you guys just allowing one another to have your own race, or were you actively planning and strategizing together?
Oh, in ahead of the second race, we talked about it a little bit and just one for all for one. So no strategy at all. But when I catch up to my teammates, they said to me, pass me on the left or right because you have higher pace than me, so you have a better chance for the podium. So I have to thank my team for a really good team effort today.
It definitely looked like a good effort. And then any ideas for preparations for the next round? You have a little bit of time for that. I know you all run the same setup between races, so it's a bit different preparing for a race, I would imagine. Do you need to prepare different braking markers, etc., for new tracks with the setup being the same for all of the races?
Of course, I think you have to be a little bit more precise in turning, in the braking points, and we are allowed to adjust the brake bias. So that's a big factor, I think. I tried a lot of things before the races today, but I've found a number that suits me, so it was good. So a lot of practice.
You definitely looked like you did your practice and everything paying off very well in the end. Again, congratulations on the win for the second race, and a very good job indeed. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Sam, I think we might have someone lined up. Do you want to take us into the next interview?
Yes. Well, I fancy having a chat with Simon Brunstad actually, who joins us in the commentary box now, because Simon had an exceptional race too, led for much of the way. Usually a fifth and a third, Simon, would be absolutely elated, but is there a little bit of disappointment in there as well, seeing that you did lead for most of that race too?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's my own fault. When I was leading when I went into the pit, I thought I'd go in a lap early, try to increase the gap with an undercut, but unfortunately I missed my pit box, and I was so hyped that I didn't really notice until a couple of seconds passed, so I lost 4 or 5 seconds in the pits, and that put me fourth, basically.
That explains so much, because we were looking at the times and we were thinking, okay, so his pit stall time was normal, no changes there, and yet you lost 4 seconds to Steinbratsen and nearly 3 seconds to Larsen in your pit stop transit. So that could well have made a difference. However, I imagine you still probably had a lot of fun, because at least from where we were watching, it looked like the battling out there was really fun. You're battling with Larsen for I think pretty much the entire evening. I guess you also had a good battle with Gestenbach and Steinbratsen as well. Seems like the racing is very fair out there. Yeah,
it's surprisingly that went well. We had so many side-by-sides into the chicane and the hairpin, and I think that's one of my best races ever, and also the funnest one I've ever driven. So I'm really happy with third. I mean, the level of these guys is insane. It's just really a big shame that Nikolai Hoheim got out of the asphalt, so to speak, on the second race. We're great friends and train a lot together, so I have to in part give thanks to him for this as well.
Absolutely. And how does the fixed setup in this series change things at all? Do you think it kind of brings the field together because there is no differences in the setup, or do you think it's actually maybe dividing the field because maybe it's something extra to learn? What's your kind of thoughts on the fixed setup?
Well, I happen to have made this setup, but it's a fixed setup with high downforce, and it's the same setup for the whole season, so it doesn't differ at all. So if you train with it for one track, you should be able to at least somehow replicate what you're doing in another race. But I think the setup really brings the field together, because you have these big teams, even in the Norwegian scale, that they have so much manpower to do research and figure out what works best. And if we take that out of the equation, I think the driving skill and style really comes into play more so than it would otherwise.
Definitely, yeah. I think that's a very good point. We've got 3 more rounds of the championship to go. We've got Barcelona, Red Bull Ring, and Nürburgring. I assume you were kind of part of the thinking behind the calendar. What was the logic with picking those last 3 circuits?
Well, actually, I made a decision together with Luis Araya to host this series as a preparation series for the Norwegian National F3 Championships, hosted by Erik Hanøy this fall. It starts the 6th of October, and I just sort of had my finger in the air and what tracks is he gonna choose, and thankfully the next 3 tracks are on the calendar as well for that 6 race season. So I just picked popular tracks that I know people enjoy racing F3 on.
Awesome. Well, it looks like a very fun schedule, particularly Red Bull Ring. I think will be a lot of fun in these cars. So very much looking forward to it. Before we let you go, Simon, is there anyone you'd like to give any thanks to?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I want to thank Nico Hoheim, who's a great mentor for me. I also want to thank my team, especially Luis, who's also a great sparring partner out there on the track. I need to thank Suelo Almeida, my driving coach, and I also need to thank Misha Firish, my mental coach.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Simon. Thanks for doing such a great job with adminning the series as well. And yeah, best of luck next time.
Thanks, Sam. See you.
Simon Brunstad there, finishing 5th in race 1 and then 3rd in race 2, and also being the brains behind the series as well. Johan, I think we've got time for one more interview. Who do you fancy having a chat with?
Name that's definitely catching my eye is going to be Stein Burton. I think he also had a bit of a battle there for 2nd position. So we've got Ole Stein Burton here with us. Firstly off, just big congratulations for that 2nd place in the feature race, and maybe just run us through what you were thinking. I mean, there were some quite intense battles on track. What was that race like for you from your perspective?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. So one of my friends challenged me to try to beat Hoheim. So my only goal this race was to try to fight him. So when I saw him pitted early, I just wanted to pit myself to try to challenge him as much as possible.
That's quite interesting. And then, were you aware that he dropped off near the end, or was that kind of off your radar at that stage of the race?
Yeah, I was like pretty much right behind him when it happened, so I was really happy when I saw him go into the walls.
Shame. But yeah, it's going to be it's definitely going to be interesting to see you guys battling it out in the future as well. Also, in terms of the early pit stop, did you kind of have to do calculations on the fly, or was that something that you slightly expected going into the race?
My main idea was just to run till the tank was empty and then pit and then go to the end, but since I saw Nikolai went so early, I just did the same as him. And for sure, looking afterwards, it was for sure not a good decision, but still a good race.
I was definitely a bit surprised when you went for what looked like an undercut, or when you both went for what looked like an undercut, but you definitely made it work at the end. So definitely some impressive racing. In terms of your preparation for the next race, anything you are specifically going to look into, having had the experience of Suzuka now, or is it just going to be the same kind of a recipe, as I would say for the next track?
I guess it depends, like if I'm actually going to do the race or not, because this was my first race in this series, and Formula cars are not really what I'm good at, so it depends if I decide to do it or not. So I'm not sure yet.
You did fairly well in them, so I mean, we would be happy to have you back here. You're very interesting to watch on track. So if Formula 3 isn't your forte, then it'd be interesting to see you in the other car as well. But you've done really well. Some nice battles on the track. And then from your side, any shout-outs that you want to mention?
Yeah, for sure. IGL, which are all of the green cars. I used to drive for them, so it was nice to drive with them and practice with them and get some tips when I first started driving the car.
We've definitely seen a lot of green on track, and it's nice to see that there's such warm memories between the team members. I think that is it for the interviews, Sam. Just thank you so much for your time, Stan Burton.
Yeah, thank you.
Sam, back to you.
Yeah, that was early Stone Bratton, and yeah, really good performances for really all the drivers out here tonight. Really good high quality of racing as we came accustomed to at Brands Hatch a couple of months ago, and yeah, it was more of the same here at Suzuka. Of course, next round of the championship is in 2 weeks' time. We're going to have these races a little bit more common now from now on throughout September. So yeah, the next round in a couple of weeks' time. Next up at Barcelona for the next round of the championship, and then yeah, 2 weeks after that Red Bull Ring, 2 weeks after that Nürburgring for the season finale. So yeah, just a month away from this series being all wrapped up, and of course the Norwegian nationals starting back up again. Of course, if you've enjoyed this video, do make sure to leave a like on it, and also subscribe to Apex Racing TV, then you're more likely to get shown these videos in the future. Hopefully we'll be blessed by the YouTube algorithm. There's so much other stuff going on Apex Racing TV every single day of the week. For example, in the next couple of days, we've got the Formula 3.5 Championship actually on Saturday. Tomorrow we've got the ARL Super Trucks series, which is incredible. Hockenheim short with no track limits is going to be an amazing thing to witness. Also got the Radical Racing Challenge as well. Got Spec Ford Racer on Sunday, and yeah, a bunch of other series. And then we've got about 6 series over the course of the weekend. So do make sure to check out the other broadcasts that Apex Racing TV produce. Big thanks to Virtual Racing School and to Apex Racing Academy, along with SDK Gaming, for sponsoring this series and sponsoring this broadcast and helping us out on Apex Racing TV. So huge thanks to all of those guys. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Johan Karanas, and from Marco Barbonet, we are going to say goodbye, and we'll see you back very soon.